I just want to congratulate you on being the first astronaut to sing in space for real.
Thanks, Jeff. It was one small step for women, one giant leap for my lifetime's tour.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love.
Whoever came up with this title, give this guy a freaking raise. Tell me how this is not awesome. Astronaut.
And think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? I'm disgusted, literally.
When Katy Perry signed up for Blue Origin's headline-grabbing space trip, she probably imagined the history books already writing her name in glitter ink.
Look, I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with.
Astronaut. Conspiracy theories swirl about Katy Perry's fake Blue Origin space mission.
It was supposed to be a feel-good, all-American triumph, a global pop icon trading. Stadium lights for Starlight, floating above the Earth like the living legend she's always wanted to be. Empowering, historic, inspirational, at least. That was the plan.
Just show the legendary landing real quick, Rob. This is such a beautiful moment. This may be greater than us landing. Look at this. Look at the way it lands to the ground. None of them break their backs. Look at this. Watch for it. Wow.
Southwest Airlines lands just like this.
The freaking music is awesome.
Someone went to space for like 4 minutes. What is she kissing the ground for? Pointing up at the sky.
Katy! Woo!
And to the guy, woo, Katy, yeah. Dumb, bro.
Instead, when Katy's boots touched back down on solid ground, she wasn't greeted with roses and applause. She was met with memes, mockery, and a PR nightmare spinning so fast, even a rocket ship couldn't catch it. Because while Katy was busy making history, the internet was already sharpening its claws.
The worst part is when
there's people starving in other countries and we're clapping and cheering. Like, bro, this is wild. And then Katy Perry steps out, starts kissing the ground. Bro, the stories write themselves. Like, we are living in a Black Mirror episode. Like, what is this, bro? Yeah.
Which one is this, Rob? Tell us.
This is the door being opened from the inside.
Watch this.
What's going to come out of
They're not supposed to open the door yet.
her
Look, they're like, close the door!
No, not yet. Jeff Bezos out there right by the capsule? Kind of hard to see. That is
I have to
correct.
pee.
That is Jeff Bezos, our founder.
He has to step up with the official doohickey thing.
Critics slammed her as out of touch, calling her trip nothing more than a billionaire's vanity project. Fans who once screamed her lyrics started roasting her online. And worst of all, South Park had been waiting, and they pounced.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Bro.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
Let me tell you right now, Katy, you're officially an astronaut.
I guess I'm a freaking brain surgeon then. I can't believe she even said. How do you even format your lips to say something so stupid?
From the outside, Katy's cosmic adventure had everything going for it. The media blitz was perfectly choreographed. Sparkling photos of Katy in her sleek silver spacesuit, emotional interviews about fulfilling childhood dreams, teaser posts, hinting at a whole new era of artistry and empowerment. For a moment, it looked like Katy had cracked the impossible code: evolve as an artist without losing your audience, stay relevant without looking desperate, grow up without growing boring. But behind the scenes, the rumbling had already begun.
I'm going to tell you something right now. You are officially an astronaut.
Thank you so much.
How do you feel?
I feel super connected to love.
This is so tough. However, there's been some critics saying some stuff in it.
Really?
Rob, I don't know if you have any of the critic stuff or not. Do you have any of this stuff on how they open the door first and then they have to reopen the door and they have to say, go back in there, and then Jeff Bezos falls. Poor guy's tripping. He's having a hard time.
Whispers about the carbon footprint of her trip. Questions about how empowering a millionaire's space joyride really was. The same fans who once called Katy their queen were starting to ask, is she even relatable anymore? And Katy, still blissfully floating among the stars, unaware that the ground beneath her career was already starting to crack.
Flynn, I gotcha. Oh, the moon! You guys, I will have to tell you, look at the moon.
doing a whole bunch of nothing.
Watching her
Look, I brought my little butterfly.
When the South Park episode hit, it was brutal, even by their standards. Their Katy parody wasn't just a harmless jab, it was a merciless takedown of everything she had tried to build with her spaceflight. In their version, Katy was portrayed as a clueless diva, sobbing in zero gravity because her glam squad wasn't there to fix her hair, demanding champagne and Instagram filters while pretending to care about the future of humanity. The internet exploded. Within hours, clips from the episode had racked up millions of views. TikToks mocking her flooded For You pages. Twitter threads broke down, frame by frame, every savage insult South Park had thrown her way. Even late night, hosts jumped on the bandwagon, slipping casual jabs into their monologues. Katy's historic spaceflight wasn't being celebrated anymore. It was being laughed at.
Bob, what else you got? Because there's a bunch of them.
I have Gail King claiming that it was sexist.
Go ahead and play this clip. Go ahead, Rob.
I don't like that people are calling it a ride. A ride, you never see a male astronaut who's going up in space and they said, oh, he took a ride. We actually duplicated the route that Alan Shepard did. That's why it's called, this particular capsule is called the New Shepard. We duplicated that route. No one said he took that ride. Yeah. It's always referred to as a flight or a journey. So I feel that that's a little disrespectful to what the mission was and what the work that Blue Origin
was. They went on a
space technology.
Mission.
Katy stuck to the script, smiling for cameras, tossing out a haters gonna hate soundbite here and there, pretending like the South Park episode didn't even exist. But behind the scenes, sources close to her say it hit harder than anyone realized. She wasn't just embarrassed, she was devastated, because for Katy, this wasn't about a silly cartoon or a few bad memes. It was about realizing that no matter how high she flew, literally, there were some battles she could never escape. That even among the stars, the world's judgment still burned hotter than the sun. And just when it seemed like the worst had passed, another storm was brewing. Because if you thought South Park was savage, baby, you haven't seen what The Simpsons had planned for her.
Look, I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with.
The worst part wasn't just that Katy Perry got mocked, it was how fast the world turned on her. Before her space trip, Katy was being hailed as a symbol of empowerment, a pop queen chasing her dreams higher than anyone else dared. But after South Park's brutal roast lit the match, it was like the internet had been waiting, gasoline in hand, ready to burn it all down. Threads exploded on Twitter. TikTok creators stitched her face onto billionaire rocket launches. Media outlets that once adored her posted biting headlines. Fans who grew up screaming her lyrics started asking the unthinkable. Is Katy Perry even relatable anymore? Just like that, the woman who once united teenage dreamers across the globe became the internet's favorite punching bag.
I gotcha.
At first, the jokes were goofy. Harmless memes about Katy floating through space, losing her makeup bag in zero gravity. Cute edits of her drifting away from Earth, leaving her fan base behind. But within days, the tone shifted. The jokes got darker, colder, more vicious. Katy wasn't just the girl who chased a dream, she became a symbol of everything wrong with out-of-touch celebrity culture. Late-night comedians ripped into her nightly. Influencers farmed views off her downfall. Headlines screamed things like Katy Perry's cosmic misfire, and from pop princess to space case, every meme, every joke chipped away at her fantasy of reinvention until all that was left was a hollow punchline floating through the internet.
And think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? I'm disgusted, literally.
Publicly, Katy kept it together. She posted polished selfies, flashed her megawatt smile in interviews, tweeted hollow little stay positive messages. But insiders whispered the real story was heartbreakingly different. Behind closed doors, Katy was devastated. She wasn't sleeping. She wasn't eating. She spent hours locked in tense meetings with her team, trying to figure out if there was any way to stop the bleeding. This wasn't about bad press. It was about her future, her legacy. Everything she had spent 2 decades building was unraveling. Not because of a scandal or a flop, but because the culture had simply decided they were over her. And in pop, once you lose the culture, there's almost no coming back.
My gladiator tie off. Maximus. Look at that. My back would have been shattered. You see it?
how sick is that? Like, just like motivating.
Just when the memes started to slow down and her team thought they might finally breathe again, The Simpsons dropped an episode. If South Park's attack was a punch to the gut, this one was a dagger to the heart. Their portrayal of Katy was savage, in a way that hit deeper. In the cartoon, Katy launches into space, proud and smiling, only to realize halfway up that nobody on Earth is even watching. No news coverage, no fans waiting, just static, just silence. It wasn't just mocking her as clueless, it was declaring her irrelevant. And in celebrity culture, irrelevance is worse than failure. It's death. After The Simpsons aired, Katy's team launched into full crisis mode. Emergency meetings were called, PR strategies were rewritten. Should she do a tearful sit-down interview? Should she pivot into activism? Should she announce a surprise, serious album to prove she was still an artist with something to say? No idea was too desperate to consider, but deep down, everyone knew the damage was done. Katy's cosmic adventure hadn't been a glorious rebirth. It had been a slow, silent collapse. And in an industry that worships shiny newness, there's nothing more fatal than watching someone fall from relevance and barely hearing the sound when they land. Or maybe Katy Perry still had one last comeback left in her. After. All the stars may burn out, but sometimes they explode into supernovas first. If you thought the jokes were bad after South Park, what happened next made it look like child's play. Katy Perry's fan base, the die-hard Katy Cats, launched into full defense mode, posting endless tributes, throwing hashtags into trending topics, flooding comment sections with heart emojis and angry rants. But for every "We love you, Katy," there were 5 more people mocking, stitching, remixing her downfall into viral content. TikTok became a battlefield. One side argued that Katy was living her dream, that she was inspiring millions to reach for the stars. The other side wasn't feeling so generous. Videos exploded comparing her space trip to billionaire vanity projects. Commenters joked that she was just another rich person playing astronaut while the world burned. Suddenly, Katy wasn't just a pop star anymore. She was a symbol of celebrity disconnect, and the internet had already decided it wasn't a good look. No matter how hard the Katy Cats fought, the larger narrative was spiraling out of control. Katy's face, once plastered across every ad campaign and music platform, was now the subject of cruel punchlines. She had become entertainment, in the worst way possible. Not celebrated, but pitied. Behind the glossy Instagram posts and the carefully worded tweets, the real trouble started hitting Katy where it hurt most: her business deals. Weeks before the flight, her team had lined up a galaxy of opportunities. Endorsements, documentaries, beauty lines inspired by the cosmic era, a rumored Netflix special tracking her journey from pop star to astronaut. But after the South Park episode and The Simpsons' brutal takedown, the emails started slowing down. Brands that had once scrambled to associate themselves with her glowing, fearless image now began backing away, quietly, professionally, but unmistakably. Some collabs were put on hold indefinitely. Others cited new marketing directions. Deals that had been considered sure things simply evaporated. And if there's one thing worse than bad press in Hollywood, it's losing relevance to the point where the money just disappears, without so much as a phone call. For Katy, who had meticulously planned every step of her space journey to be a career revival, it wasn't just disappointing, it was devastating. All the dreams of a galactic queen rebrand were slipping away. And fast. And if losing brand deals was painful, the whispers inside Hollywood were pure cruelty. No one said anything to Katy's face, of course. They never do. But in the corners of industry parties, at exclusive brunches, at casual power lunches, in Beverly Hills, people were talking. The whispers were vicious. She's trying too hard. Maybe it's time she hung it up. Space? Really? Desperate much? The same actresses who once fought for selfies with her at award shows now barely mentioned her name. The same pop stars who once praised her for being a fearless innovator stayed silent. In Hollywood, silence is a weapon. And right now, it was slicing through Katy's once untouchable status like a blade. Even worse, some insiders started leaking tiny tidbits to gossip blogs. Stories about strained relationships between Katy and her team. Stories suggesting she had become difficult behind the scenes. Stories painting her less like a visionary and more like a diva flailing for attention. Was it true? Who knows? But the damage was done. Because in this business, perception is reality. And Katy's reality was quickly turning into a nightmare. Underneath all the memes and viral roasts, a deeper, uglier conversation started bubbling. This wasn't just about Katy anymore. It was about what she represented. In a world grappling with wealth inequality, climate crises, and social justice. Reckoning's Katy's space trip, no matter how well-intentioned, felt like a glittery, tone-deaf fantasy. People weren't just laughing at her floating around in zero gravity, they were angry. Angry that celebrities seemed to live on another planet already. Angry that inspiration now looked like billion-dollar vacations to space. Angry that dreams they had once shared, dreams Katy had once sung about, now felt impossible for anyone who wasn't rich, famous, and endlessly insulated. Katy had accidentally touched a nerve deeper than pop culture. She had become a symbol of the widening gap between the glittering celebrity world and the crumbling real one. And when a celebrity becomes a symbol of the problem, there's almost no clean way back. The million-dollar question started echoing across media outlets, podcasts, and YouTube commentary channels alike. Can Katy Perry survive this? Because Katy had done the impossible before. She had weathered flop eras. She had survived brutal public and breakups. She had come back swinging after being declared over more times than anyone could count. But this wasn't just a bad album cycle. This was culture shifting under her feet, faster than even a Blue Origin rocket could fly. Pop culture is brutal. It forgives scandals. It forgives bad songs. But what it rarely forgives is feeling out of touch. And Katy had launched herself right into that danger zone. Still, if anyone could pull off a miracle comeback, it was Katy Perry. She wasn't just a pop star. She was a fighter, a survivor, a dreamer who refused to quit, even when the world told her to sit down and fade away. But surviving this storm would take more than a catchy song or a glittery tour. It would take reinvention on a level Katy had never dared before. And the question hanging in the air, heavy, suffocating, inescapable, was simple. Could she pull it off before the world stopped caring entirely? After the internet had its fun, after the memes dried up and the headlines moved on to fresher disasters, Katy Perry was left standing in a strange, empty place. A place far scarier than being hated. She wasn't being roasted anymore. She wasn't being defended. She wasn't being noticed at all. The silence was deafening. In Hollywood, silence means one thing: irrelevance. And for a pop star who once commanded stages, shattered records, and dominated every screen you could scroll through, this new reality cut deeper than any internet meme ever could. Behind the scenes, Katy faced a brutal truth. She had gambled her reputation on one grand, glittering gesture and lost. Not because the dream was wrong, but because the timing was. Because the culture had changed, and maybe she hadn't changed fast enough. But Katy Perry is not a woman who crumbles easily. While the world assumed she was licking her wounds, Katy was working. Quietly, secretly, obsessively. Her team started calling private meetings with new strategists, consultants who specialized, not in glamour, but in reinvention. The mission was clear: find the cracks in the public's perception and rebuild before they turned into an unfixable break. Whispers leaked of intimate songwriting sessions, tracks so raw they made even seasoned producers emotional. Ideas were floated about documentaries. Not the glossy kind, but real, vulnerable storytelling. Maybe the only way forward was to rip off the mask completely, to stop trying to be the larger-than-life pop goddess, and simply be human. The question wasn't whether Katy wanted a comeback. The question was whether the world would let her have one. While Katy plodded in the shadows, Hollywood kept moving, and it moved without her. The hottest new stars dominated the charts. Award shows barely mentioned her name. Streaming playlists, once packed with her glittering anthems, now favored a new generation with newer dreams. Industry friends who once posed for photos at Coachella parties now left her on read. Collaborators she had championed in their come-up years quietly distanced themselves. Nobody wanted to be seen clinging to a falling star. And yet, underneath the rejection, there was a different kind of fear in the air, the unspoken terror. That maybe, just maybe, what happened to Katy could happen to anyone. Fame wasn't a crown, it was a ticking clock. And the timer on every career was always counting down, whether you heard it or not. If the leaks are true, and at this point the buzz is too loud to ignore, Katy isn't planning a traditional comeback. No massive world tour right away, no glossy pop album pretending nothing happened. She's planning something smaller, more intimate. A stripped-down project, one that reconnects with the very people she lost, the dreamers, the underdogs, The girls who once saw themselves in her candy-colored anthems. Maybe there's a new Katy coming, a woman less obsessed with conquering. The charts and more, interested in creating something real, something that can't be turned into a meme. Maybe the fall from space wasn't the end of her story. Maybe it was the beginning of something she hadn't dared to write yet, because true reinvention doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the dark, when no one's watching. And right now, Katy Perry is in the dark, building her next move with the quiet rage of someone who refuses to be forgotten. But even with all the plotting and planning, there's one brutal reality Katy can't ignore. The final decision isn't hers anymore. It's ours. It's the fans, the critics, the casual listeners, the people scrolling TikTok, clicking YouTube, thumbnails liking or ignoring based on a gut feeling. Will they welcome her back like a prodigal queen, broken but reborn? Or will they scroll past without even noticing she's there? Pop culture is fickle. It's cruel. But sometimes, it loves a comeback story even more than it loves a downfall. If Katy can tap into the raw, messy, real parts of herself, the parts she once sang about in Firework, the parts we fell in love with when she danced through Candy Clouds, she might just have one more explosion left inside her. Not a controlled blast to impress the industry. Not a glittering spectacle to win awards, but a real, messy, human fire that reminds everyone why she ever mattered in the first place. And if she does it right, if she really means it this time, she won't need a rocket to get back to the top. She'll set the world on fire all over again. So now I'm turning the mic over to you. Do you think Katy Perry has what it takes to pull off a true reinvention, or has the culture already closed the door on her for good? Drop your hottest takes in the comments. I want to hear everything. And if you loved this deep dive into the rise, fall, and maybe the rebirth of one of pop's biggest icons, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell so you never miss the next sip of piping hot tea. Trust me, the next chapter is just getting started, and you're not going to want to miss it.